gives you the real numbers on immigration.
16% of immigrants are allowed into this country on merit. It's just irrespective of whether or not they're actually going to make a contribution to this country. What country on the world does that to itself?
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before John Steigerwald at 5 on AM 1250. The Answer.
The train is rolling down the track. That would be the transgender train, and in case you missed it over the weekend, CeCe Telfer of Franklin Pierce University won the Division II women's 400-meter hurdles Saturday night. She beat the second-place finisher by a full second. The school was excited. It put out an announcement. Here's what it said. Telfer is the first student-athlete in Franklin Pierce history to collect an individual title. Here's what the coach said. It was tough conditions out there with the wind and the heat over the last 3 days, but she has over the last 6 months proved herself to be tough enough to handle it. Of course, CeCe didn't have to prove herself to be a woman. If she did, it would be clear that she's a he. CeCe is a biological male, and he's the Division II women's champion in the 400-meter hurdles. So Franklin Pierce went all those years without an individual national champion in any sport, but all it had to do to win one was have a man race against women. What an idea. Why didn't they think of that before? I should have done that like 20 years ago. What a proud moment for the university. Let's not dwell on what it meant to whoever finished second. Forget about her. Assuming it was an actual woman who probably trained really hard for years to reach the women's national championship and then lost to a man. Sorry, but I have no sympathy for the women who are victimized by this stupidity anymore. As I've said here many times, they and their coaches, their parents, everybody else, they need to stand up to the stupidity and refuse to compete. Let CeCe run against himself. Have a nice time, win the race, and everybody, go watch him run. Do something else. So it's only going to get more stupid by the day. And then there's Gillette, the razor company. It put out a commercial over the weekend. It involves a father showing his daughter how to shave for the first time. And we're not talking about her legs, it's her face, because his daughter is now a he. And the caption reads, however it happens, your first shave is special. Now, I think I'd remember my first shave if it was special. I don't remember it at all. I can remember some firsts and a lot of other things, but not shaving, okay? It wasn't special. Maybe it is for some kids, wasn't for me. But anyway, the father, nobody showed me how to do it, but let's listen to the father in this commercial.
Growing up, I was always trying to figure out what kind of man I wanted to become, and I'm still trying to figure out what kind of man that I want to become. I always knew I was different. I didn't know that there was a term for the type of person that I was. I went into my transition just wanting to be happy. I'm glad I'm at the point where I'm able to shave. South, south, north, north, east, west, never in a hurry.
Yeah.
Right.
One. Now, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Shaving is about being confident. Oh, you're doing fine. You are doing fine.
I'm at the point in my manhood where I'm actually happy. It's not just myself transitioning, it's everybody around me transitioning.
Shaving is about being confident? No, it's not. It's about removing hair from your face. The commercial is obviously meant. The World Health Organization made it official. It no longer is going to categorize being transgender as a mental disorder. It also announced that video game addiction is a mental disorder. When we come back, we're going to talk to a pediatric endocrinologist who will tell you that this all is total insanity. Stick around.
Girls will be boys and boys will be girls. It's a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world. It's a
Are you about to pay double for new windows, siding, or doors? If you haven't called Windows R Us, you just might. Many companies are overcharging area homes and businesses nearly double. With over 50 years in home remodeling, Windows R Us is more than a window company. They're the area's premier exterior replacement company for roofs, gutters, siding, doors, and of course, windows. Windows R Us will never overcharge. You'll love their no-pressure approach, forward pricing, and the fastest turnaround in the business. Right now, get zero interest for 12 months and up to $20,000 on new vinyl, fiberglass, or wood windows. With options like triple pane glass and names like Pella. No hidden fees or surprises ever. Your no loophole lifetime warranty covers everything, including glass breakage, at no additional cost. Mention AM 1250 with your free estimate for an exclusive 10% off. Why pay double? Visit the area's premier exterior replacement company, WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com.
If you're an employer, a business owner, if you have 5 to 100 employees, listen up. The cost of doing business continues to skyrocket, strangling your HR department with more regulations, administrative duties, and liability than ever. I'm John Steigerwald. Your health plan's a big part of that cost. Another year, another 10% rate hike, another $1,000 increase on your deductible, another hospital or doctor you can't go to because they're not in the network. Isn't it time for a change? Well, stop the insanity and call Marley Financial, the most innovative agency in the industry. Put an end to the annual increase. Give your employees a national network that all hospitals reduce your monthly premiums by 20 to 30%. It doesn't matter when your renewal is. Marley can help today. 96. Marley Financial, 724-884-1496. 724-884-1496. We're talking to Rocky Blyer. He's involved with the Miracle League of Moon Township and the construction of a Miracle League athletic field. The fields are designed to make it possible for kids with special needs to play sports.
Every child, no matter what the situation, deserves a chance to be able to play, to compete, and have a place that's safe, takes care of needs, that's organized field that will be built. Now we got 4 places to be able to travel, so it broadens the whole interest of sports. It's just terrific for a community to do that.
There's a buddy system I thought was pretty impressive. What's that all about?
Kids with special needs have a buddy, a child who's in school. It's like having an older brother or sister involved with you. So it's good, and that everybody has human dignity of being able to participate.
The website is miraclesinmoon.org. Check it out, and let's help make this dream a reality. Hey, Rocky, thanks, and we'll be talking to you again about this project. Appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks.
Rocky Blyer, and we'll be right back.
Have you ever seen a pest controller spraying chemicals in your home? It makes you wonder, if their chemicals are safe, then why do they suit up and wear respirators only to leave you to walk back in unprotected? G'day, I'm Scott from Plug-in Pest Free, and I'm here to tell you there's a better way. In an age where we now have the choice to drive electric cars, you too can electronically rid your home or business of unwanted rodents and pests. Plug-in Pest Free. 100% chemical-free, Plug-in Pest Free is your safest bet for your family and pets. Our bestseller, the Plug-in Pest Free Pro, will cover up to 4,000 square feet. Now that's fair dinkum. So order yours today at gopestfree.com. Use promo code SAVE20 for 20% off plus free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's gopestfree.com, promo code SAVE20. Don't spray and regret. Plug in and forget. Gopestfree.com today.
You're listening to The John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Well, before the break, I mentioned that a biological man is the 2019 champion in the women's division 400-meter hurdles. That's in college, and that was just another example of the insanity that seems to be getting widespread acceptance. I also mentioned that the World Health Organization has said that transgenderism is no longer a mental disorder. Dr. Quentin Van Meter is a pediatric endocrinologist with the American College of Pediatricians. He joins us now. Doctor, thanks for being here. You've been here a couple times before. Really appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to be welcomed back. It's certainly an honor to talk here.
So what are the ramifications of the World Health Organization no longer considering transgenderism a mental disorder?
Well, it's very interesting. In an attempt to sort of take this disease away from a mental condition. They are essentially saying it's normal. It's an absolute variation of normal. Now, their intent was so that essentially any transgender person who wants to essentially receive any kind of treatment with medicines or surgeries can now have this, since it's not a mental disorder. Well, the double-edged sword is there that if it's not a disorder, then it becomes a cosmetic issue. If somebody wants to change their body with hormones or change their body with surgery, it now essentially shouldn't be a covered service because, of course, it's just normal. It's like, well, I don't like my hair color. I think I'm a blonde, so I think my nose should be shaped this way. I know it's just a variation of normal. So it's almost as if they've just shot themselves in the foot, and of course that's not their intent. The WHO had input from the Human Rights Commission and the World Professional Association of Transgender Health to kind of help them along their way making this new politically correct decision that transgenderism is a norm. And, of course, those of us who have been following this for the number of years we know it is anything but normal, that the treatments are hideous, harmful, and that the outcomes from these treatments that are suggested result in a higher unhappiness rate in terms of mental illness and depression and anxiety as a result. So it's really strange, but it's following on the train of political thought that that we cannot be against anything that is with a suffering person, and therefore the disease, we're being kind to that person, and all suffering will disappear. And of course, that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that it may be a case of them shooting themselves in the foot, because the idea, a lot of the stuff that I've read about it, is that this will allow them to be covered by insurance, whether it be private insurance or around the world, government insurance. This makes it almost mandatory that they get coverage, but you think it could go in the opposite direction for them?
Well, absolutely, because if it's not anything, it's a disease state. If it's a normal state of health, then why does it require any treatment? I mean, honestly, just think about what they're saying. This is not a disorder of any kind, and therefore, why would it need treatment with medicines or surgery? If it's not a disease state, they're essentially, what they intended, obviously, was that they'll get health care to make themselves anything they want to, right, in the way of a gendered appearance. But the one thing that they will outlaw and not have covered is any counseling that deals with the psychological issues that are currently and always beneath the surface in these kids and young adults. Now, I mean, that's the sad thing, is that they have written off all the mental health issues as if they were only caused by the nasty world not liking these people and not understanding their pain and their agony as they try to be who they feel they want to be, not who they are biologically, but who they feel they want to be. And so they have essentially drank the Kool-Aid that says this, all suffering, all anxiety, all issues are all due to societal meanness and oppression of these free individuals who would otherwise be absolutely happy and wonderful if they could only get their medicines and their surgeries. So I mean, they are talking out of one side of their mouth on one side and out of the other, and they're making absolutely no sense. They're stepping on themselves, and it's inevitable when you make up this kind of stuff that you're going to end up having incongruities in what you want to say or meant the outcomes to be. So I just find it's entertaining and sad, but it's just like, what is the world coming to, trying to be so politically correct and so compassionate that you have literally bought into this nonsense and this emperor's new clothes, when the emperor is just buck naked, and we just all need to recognize that and get back to some sensibilities here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you said incongruence, because the WHO is calling it gender incongruence.
Right.
So it's just incongruence.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a bad word. I mean, it still sort of says the thing, but they think they've taken the concept of a disorder or a mental state of confusion or a delusional thought process, and they've removed it so that they are taking away all stigma. And what they've done is essentially accidentally taken away any potential for covered treatment, because if it's totally normal, why does it need treatment?
Well, but if I have this, and I guess, am I allowed to call it a condition? I don't know. But if I have this incongruence, then I feel that I need surgery to match what I think I am with what I look like. Isn't that what they're going to be looking for, to have the insurance pay is for the change?
But it's an appearance situation. It's nothing more than appearances. Okay, it has, in terms of function, you can't recreate the biologic function of the female and male organs. You can't. You cannot recreate those. Transplants of these things have not ever come to a point where they actually work in human beings. So there is no way really to surgically do anything other than put on a costume. And so why in the world would we want to put a costume on something? If they believe that's who they are, to the core of their being, then they should, they realize, well, their body doesn't match that, but of what importance is that? I mean, if that's who they believe they are, and they want to have the legal rights of that particular biologic sex, then if the governments are going to say they can have that, which creates all sorts of medical problems in terms of essentially stating that male and female biology is no different, that it is all merely something that can be changed with hormones. We know different than that. I mean, we know that the female biologic human has a different response to environment, to brain growth, to response to medications, the pharmaceutical agents. So we all, the FDA mandates that drugs be tested in males and females, biological males and females, differently because of different responses. So we are on one hand in the government saying there is, you can be whoever you wish to be, but by the way, there is a biologic difference between males and females that must be honored and remembered throughout the treatment course. So just like the sad story of the biological female who came in to the emergency room in England, pregnant with a baby that was essentially a stillborn, because it wasn't recognized that this individual was not indeed a man. It was a trans man, so-called, a female who had transitioned.
The baby was stillborn, yeah.
The baby was stillborn. So, I mean, we are creating now some really sticky issues. The world's reaction to that in terms of the politically correct people was, the hospital's at fault for not having trained people.
And I think, Doctor, I think it wasn't just politically correct people. It was people in positions of authority that they blamed the hospital.
Yeah, totally the hospital's fault, not the patient's fault. So, for having lived the charade of a male.
I'm a man, but I'm pregnant.
Yeah. So, I mean, the blame. It's really insane that you sit there and project these things onto other people, as if you were the one that was sound in your thinking. The British government has actually curtailed, the transgender treatments temporarily while they try to unravel what the heck is going on in that country with the sort of rash of teenage females suddenly wanting to become trans men.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, that government said, we better be rethinking of this. We've had workers in our clinic that have been in these transgender clinics resigning, saying that they feel they're doing harm. Maybe it's time we take a breath and hold off and rethink these things and reconvene our ideas. So, in a sense, the UK is ahead of the pack in terms of recognizing these things. Sweden is doing the same thing, evidently, within their commission. So I think what we're going to end up being in the United States is about 30 years behind. Meantime, our population of those kids who will be medically and surgically mutilated will be up in the number of hundreds of thousands, and then we'll have to figure out what to do with these kids that have essentially been maltreated under the guise of perfect treatment. there'll be an inordinate number of lawsuits against physicians and hospitals, healthcare systems for having approved something which was not scientifically valid, but which was politically popular. So that's in the future. That's what we're looking at. Unless we take a breath and say, let's be smart as they are over in the UK and Sweden, hold our breath, reconvene everyone who is looking at this, and get some sane heads together and actually examine the data really critically, realize that these transgendered individuals are suffering emotionally, not because society doesn't like them like they want to be. It's that there is suffering beneath the surface that has drawn these individuals to use a transgendered diagnosis as an escape route from their emotional and depression and anxiety.
Well, my question was going to be, I said in my open that it feels like a train rolling down the track that can't be stopped. But are you saying that they're trying to stop the train in England and Sweden and other places?
Yes, they're actually taking stock and saying maybe we should, because of the rapidity of this remarkable influx of these patients out of nowhere, maybe we should take stock and see what this really is, instead of assuming it's the tiny fraction of humanity that believes they're born into the wrong body and that have been treated as such. The bottom line is you cannot make a biological male a female. You cannot make a biological female a male. It's impossible. It can't work.
I didn't go to medical school, but that doesn't sound all that surprising to me when you say that. We have scientists sitting back on their haunches saying, well, human beings are different than all of the rest of nature, where there are two sexes. Well, the abortion debate has kind of mixed in with this whole discussion of transgenderism. I'm looking right now at a piece. It's Laverne Cox, who's a transgender. She's a woman who's actually a man. Cox commencement speech. Why she's giving a commencement speech is another subject, but her subject was abortion isn't just a woman's right, it's a trans man's right. There are people out there saying with a straight face that men can get pregnant. And I saw, I think it's Williams College up in New England, that the biological students are not allowed to refer to a pregnant woman. It has to be a pregnant person. Not only women can get pregnant. This is where we are, and I'm supposed to nod my head in agreement. I can't.
Yeah. No, I know. It is. We are watching from the sidelines a parade of fantasy that is unfortunately touches the lives permanently of a number of individuals who are victims. I think that the poor trans people have been victimized by the train, picking them up and taking them on a journey that they inevitably regret. So
I have a quick question I want to ask you. I only have a minute and a half, and I'm up against a hard break. I heard a story about a kid I know has a kid in his school. This is a high school kid. Who's a transgender, and he went out for one of the girls' teams. And I was asking the kid about him. I said, is he the only kid, as far as you know, in the school who's transgender? And he said, yeah, except his little brother I think is the same way. Now, what are the chances of two, and how much of it is just typical little brother, idolizing brother, and following his footsteps?
Well, the families of these transgendered people have enormous amounts of undercurrent pathology. That's just, their parental deaths, separation, divorce, sexual abuse, and so these kinds of things are under the surface. The kid who escapes through the transgender escape route comes out thinking the problem is solved if they go that way. Mm-hmm. The family, it could certainly have enough pathology to hurt more than one of the children in the family.
An outlier right now, but I'm hoping that changes, and I appreciate you being here.
Happy to be on anytime. Thanks.
Okay, and that's Dr. Quentin Van Meter, and he knows about this stuff, and he's called a hater for all the things you just heard him say right there. I think he's, kind of making sense. We'll be right back.
Keith Peters in Washington. Vice President Mike Pence is reacting to the Supreme Court's latest abortion ruling. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In a written statement, the Vice President's office says Pence commends the Supreme Court for upholding a portion of Indiana law that safeguards that the remains of aborted babies be treated with respect and dignity. But the Vice President is disappointed that the High Court left a lower court ruling in place that allows abortion based on sex, race, or disability. Pence signed measures into law when he was Indiana's governor. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Meanwhile, Missouri may become the first state without an abortion clinic this Friday. Missouri officials say they're investigating a number of deficiencies in Planned Parenthood's St. Louis clinic. On Wall Street, the Dow down by, the Nasdaq dropped 30, the S&P lower by 24. This is SRN News.
Okay, first time we read this commercial, he got one, so I had to get one.
And we are both in love with this product.
The glass chair mat by Vitraza. They're unbelievable.
You know that junky plastic chair mat under your office chair or at home? Piece of garbage.
It's the ugliest thing in your office.
Vitraza glass chair mats are beautiful.
Durable.
Each one will support over 1,000 pounds, so it'll even hold me. They've got a lifetime warranty, and the way you feel rolling over smooth glass instead of cheap, crackly plastic, it's like working in $1 million office. And it's your office.
We got to mention this. Shipping is absolutely free.
Absolutely. Lifetime warranty, scratch-resistant, stylish Vitraza glass chair mats.
You can't get them at the office superstore. You got to order them direct at vitraza.com/life. That's V as in ITRAZZA. Vitraza.com/life. Remember that website. There's a discount code waiting for you for 10% off. Only at vitraza.com.
Employment and skills, 12%, 66% precisely are based upon family connections.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 7, right before Joe Walsh at 9 on AM 1250. The Answer.
You're an insurance agent. You're also an entrepreneur looking to grow. And what better way to grow than by being your own boss? Owning your own Farmers Insurance Agency has been called one of the best small business opportunities. Coach, your opportunity to grow is unlimited. No franchise fees required. Visit beafarmersagent.com and start growing.
We are farmers.
Radio show Hunt for Retirement by visiting gwhunt.com. On this week's edition of Hunt for Retirement, we discuss securing lifetime income. Text HUNT to 555-888 or visit gwhunt.com to listen allocation and a free retirement income report.
Here is your new Pella Lifestyle window when open. Here it is, closed. The new Pella Lifestyle series is the #1 performing wood window and patio door for sound control, energy efficiency, and value. Keep the outside noise outside. More peace and better rest for your noise control for a quieter home. For a limited time, get 50% off installation and 12 months, no payments, no interest. Call 888-77-PELLA, PellaPittsburgh.com.
1 in 7 men is diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. The good news? When caught early, it can be treated. The bad? All treatment options have side effects like impotence, urinary leakage, and rectal bleeding. New Space Or Hydrogel is FDA cleared and clinically proven to help. Men receiving Space Or Hydrogel were more likely to maintain their normal OAR.org. Or ask your doctor about Space Or Hydrogel.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
Busy ride on the outbound Parkway East Boulevard of the Allies to the Squirrel Hill Tunnel and inbound Edgewood Swissvale to the tunnel. Heavy volume outbound Parkway West, Parkway Center Drive to Carnegie. In Robinson Township, an accident Summit Park Drive at Montour Church Road. This is right near the Parkway. Also seeing an accident still shutting down Halton Road in Oakmont between 5th Street and Allegheny River Boulevard. That's a look at traffic. I'm Jenny Robinson.
AM 1250. The Answer. Weather.
We have a tornado watch in effect until 10 o'clock this evening. We'll see thunderstorms in the area this evening, which will be severe in some areas. Damaging wind and large hail are risks, along with isolated tornadoes. Late tonight, mainly cloudy, low 65. Tomorrow, warm and humid with clouds and sun, 78 for the high. We'll have thunderstorms around again during the afternoon and evening. Again, there's a risk for severe storms, including isolated tornadoes. With your weather forecast, I'm meteorologist Frank Strait.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250 and FM 92.5. The Answer.
Well, there's been an ongoing debate about statues going on for a while now. Which ones should be allowed to stand? Which ones should be removed? Pass as okay here in. He joins us now. Roger, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
You wrote Heroes Left, the MLK, Martin Luther King, the MLK revelations. What are those revelations and who's revealing them?
Well, the sad truth of the matter is some of these revelations are pretty old. Martin Luther King was never the most steadfast husband, apparently, just like a lot of people that we know about in big political life. But a recent revelation that comes to us through was a very positive liberal biographer of King, who has seen certain material from the FBI. King evidently was worse than just a minor league philanderer. He was a pretty extensive philanderer, and he also didn't participate in a rape, but stood by right in the room when it was happening and didn't do anything to stop it. Nor did the FBI, for that matter. They were listening in on the whole thing. Both of them. Neither party distinguishes themselves in this. But, it's a sad situation because, King is somebody that there are good reasons to admire him. And what can we say? I mean, your introduction is interesting. I mean, we know that they're trying to drag down statues of Confederate heroes like Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis. Of course, with King, it's not just statues. It's practically every city in the country has got a Martin Luther King Boulevard. It's got schools, parks, God knows. I mean, he's probably the greatest national hero other than George Washington.
Yeah, he's been elevated to a status that equal to Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson in Washington. He's got his own memorial. That's a big statue to remove. The stuff that's in this piece that Garrow is, I guess he's going to be releasing it. The story comes out in June. My question is,
decent human being goes along with that. Now we have a world where identity politics rules and this nonsense called intersectionality. I don't know how many of your listeners have heard of it. It's a fancy word for who's the biggest victim.
Right.
And it's nonsense and it's racist, essentially. It's everything's on its head. So the ideas of King are something we should look back on fondly and try to recapture. But, he's probably more imperfect than most. So, history is tricky. That's all we can say. I mean, there are no good guys left. Maybe, Jesus and Moses.
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious, though, that the FBI was out to get King. Those stories are well known, and they didn't like him, and they wanted to expose him as a communist sympathizer and all kinds of other things. When you look at it in the context of when it was happening, he might have been considered by a lot of people at the FBI to be a little bit too uppity. That it was the 50s and 60s when he was emerging there, 60s mostly. So how much credibility should the FBI get in this? And I mean, are people going to actually have to hear the tapes? Are they going to, especially with what's going on now with the FBI, and that's not.
That nothing is simple, and the truth of the matter is, my suspicion is there's some truth to this thing about King, just as there's a lot of truth to the fact that the FBI needs to be hosed. So, it's like we're trapped on both sides here. If life were simple, we wouldn't be on the radio.
This David Garrow, as you said, he won a Pulitzer Prize for his book on King. He's a liberal, works for PBS, so he comes at this with no axe to grind, correct?
Oh, no. I think, in fact, the quotes that I've read from Garrow is very upset about it, but he's a professional historian, and he felt that, not all historians are honest, but I guess he was trying to be, and, he said, well, look, there are great things about King, but this is what happened. So he's trying to his job is to tell you the record. So that's why, essentially, I trust this a little bit more than even though I don't trust the FBI for reasons that should be obvious to listeners today.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to trust in the FBI, but I have a suspicion this is where Garrow came from, and all of this. There's some truth to this now.
How far has he gone in declaring this material credible? Is he still speculating, or is he declaring it?
No, he's declaring it credible.
So he's.
So it's really a question of whether you believe him. Really, that's what it is.
Wow.
And I essentially believe him. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before in life, and I readily admit it.
Yeah.
But, I'm only giving you my view. Anyone who tells you anything different, they're lying to you, because they're only giving you their view too. But nothing is exactly the way it appears.
Right.
Because,
media?
I did.
Yeah. And so you're, what's going on with the media, obviously. It's pretty easy to be labeled a racist these days for doing a lot less than trashing Martin Luther King's reputation. I mean, will the media have the guts to report this? I got a feeling that there aren't too many guys in radio talking about this.
Maybe not, but I think as Garrow's thing comes out, more people will start talking about it. But still, nobody wants to talk about it because I felt bad writing about it. I was a civil rights worker in the South in the '60s, so I actually lived in a rooming house in South Carolina that was owned by King's cousin, so I knew people in the family. I mean, I'm not a stranger to this stuff. And in those days, I revered King, as everybody else did, and I saw his speeches and all the rest of it, and I thought he was the greatest man in the country. But, we all learned lessons. Don't have heroes, particularly. Hero worship is a dangerous thing,
Mm-hmm. Well, you can have a hero, but you should not assume that because he's your hero that he's perfect, he or she.
Exactly.
Now, you say you were involved in the civil rights movement back in the 60s. What kinds of things did you hear or know about Martin Luther King back then that maybe you didn't want to accept or consider just people who were out to get him, coming from people who were out to get him?
In the mid-'60s, at that time, the big thing that you heard that was smearing him was that he was a communist.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, in most of the towns down there in the rural South, there would be a big billboard along the highways. It was Martin Luther King at a communist training school with a picture, a black and white of King sitting at a desk in a classroom. Now, you couldn't tell really whether it was a communist. You couldn't tell anything other than, what they said on the billboard. There was no proof to that. It was just King in a classroom. But that was what was going on. And, my guess about King and his politics is that, he was sometimes sympathetic to the left, but not. His real interest was racial equality, and that's what drove it.
Yeah, and how do you think the media will react to this?
Uncomfortably. I mean, in that sense, even though I've moved to the right from my old days on the left, many years ago I moved after 9/11, but I think everybody's going to be a little bit uncomfortable because nobody wants to think badly of King, except for those awful people who believe in this intersectionality BS. And want to beat the drum of extreme racial stuff that you get from the likes of, Maxine Waters and those people. So that I don't know how they're going to react, because some of them, there's an argument they want to put to death the memory of King, because King was not for racial. King was for integration. These people are for segregation.
Yeah, we're seeing that, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in the civil rights movement, I thought I went down south and wanted everybody to be together. Now, I look back on it, it's crazy.
Well, you're talking about many colleges now are having separate, well, not only, I was going to say separate graduation ceremonies, but we've seen stories of separate
yeah, it's terrible. That's not what this whole thing was about. When we were in the civil rights movement, we used to sing that old song, "Black and white together, we shall not be moved." Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, that's over. And it's sad. I mean, to me, having been there, it's really sad. I mean, I don't know how it went off the tracks. I think it's sad to say Obama contributed.
Yeah.
Because, he fanned the flames. It's a kind of, need to see yourself as a victim. And the minute that you see yourself as a victim, you are one.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody, you have in your piece that somebody called Martin Luther King. This is really harsh stuff here. The Harvey Weinstein of the civil rights movement. That's pretty strong stuff.
That was reported by, you were saying who's going to have the guts to report this.
Yeah.
That came out of an article in the British paper, The Independent. The British are, love to any kind of scandal. They're the first ones in, and so I don't know who they were quoting exactly. They were quoting someone, and it's linked in the article there. They didn't give the name of the person who said that, but that is an extreme comment, obviously.
Well,
but I don't know the details of King's sex life any more than you do or anybody else listening to this.
Well, the Kennedy brothers have famously gotten a pass. There was no rape charge there, but Ted Kennedy became the lion of the Democratic Party after driving a young woman into a pond and leaving her there to die. So the media ability. Can they do it for Martin Luther King?
However, but whether King was involved, how were he involved, we don't know. But anyway, I mean, nothing is worse than killing somebody. And everybody knows that Teddy Kennedy left Mary Jo Kopechne to drown. He did.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually have personal knowledge of that one, too, because I had a literary agent who was at the party that they left.
Well, you've been in the movie business a long time.
I was.
Yeah, and I said here on the show back when the movie Chappaquiddick, how long do you think it would have taken if Ted Kennedy had been a conservative Republican? Do you think it would have taken 50 years for the movie to come out about it?
15 weeks.
Yeah, and Sarah Palin, HBO had a movie out about her about 12 minutes after the election was over.
Exactly, and it was totally uninteresting. So there's nothing much to say. I mean, it's not dramatic like Chappaquiddick.
Yeah. I only have a minute left, and I want to make sure we're talking to Roger Simon, the CEO, Emeritus of PJ Media. I only have about a minute, but you've said rape a couple of times, so I don't think we got into the details of what is going to be reported here on that.
Well, I don't want to go into too much of it. Of the church that worked with King, and some of the women parishioners, and the allegation is the pastor raped one of the women with King standing next to him.
Yeah, and this story is going to come out in June in the what's the magazine?
Yeah, I think next week, actually, very soon.
Yeah, the magazine is Standpoint. Yeah. So, and it's going to be reported by a guy who wrote a Pulitzer, very complimentary and positive. So, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. Hey, Roger, I really appreciate you being on. Thanks for doing it. Do it again sometime. Sir. Thank you.
We will.
All right, that's Roger Simon, and we'll be right back. Okay, meat lovers, Beef Jerky Outlet presents over 100 delicious ways to get your snack on. There's nothing slim about these big flavors. This is high-end quality gourmet jerky in more flavors than you've ever thought possible. From wild game to pepper and spice to sweet and savory, there's something for everyone. Flavors like honey jalapeno, Cajun barbecue beef brisket, sweet bourbon traditional, Asian sesame, teriyaki, cherry maple, and peppercorn smoked beef, just to name a few. With Father's Day coming up, this is a total no-brainer for the guy in your life. Visit beefjerkyoutlet.com for fabulous gift ideas. Plus, check out their phenomenal selection of rubs, sauces, and marinades. Beef Jerky Outlet at Tanger Outlets in Washington and their brand new location at Grove City Outlets. Beef Jerky Outlet, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday on the Steigerwald Show. Check them out, beefjerkyoutlet.com. A couple of weeks ago, we had Rocky Blyer here to talk about his work with Miracle League in Moon Township, Fields for Athletes with Special Needs. Jim Leland, the Pirates' former manager, is also involved in that project. Jim, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, John. Great to talk to you.
Tell me about the Miracle League of Moon Township.
It's just a great thing for these kids, and it's a wonderful opportunity to people to participate. Some people are a little less fortunate than others, and I think it's just a great opportunity for people to volunteer and to help out and put a smile on somebody's face.
I've seen the field that they put out in Upper St. Clair. It's amazing.
Oh, it's unbelievable the way they construct these things. They have the ramps and everything for the kids. It takes a little stress off the parents. I think it's what Pittsburgh's all about. It's just a great thing.
It'll serve Montour, West Allegheny, Moon, Sewickley, Weirton, Steubenville, Beaver County, and surrounding communities. Approximately 100 to 200 children will be eligible to participate, and it'll also serve adults with special needs. So it's a great cause. And if you'd like to see how you can help, maybe donate some money, check it out at miraclesinmoon.org. Miraclesinmoon.org. We'll be right back.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-500-5588. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-500-5588 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-500-5588 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-500-5588.
Hi, Hugh Hewitt here for PatriotMobile.com. I need you to go and switch today to PatriotMobile.com/Hugh. Let me tell you why. Big Mobile is supporting the left. You know, I'm talking about AT&T, Verizon. They cut big checks to the big left, and they do it every year, year in and year out, decade after decade, but not Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the country's only conservative cell phone company. A portion of every one of your bills goes to support conservative causes, the Second Amendment, pro-life causes, conservative activism at the Heritage Foundation. They also have unlimited talk and text plans starting as low as $20. Don't wait. At Patriot Mobile, a young company, more than $2 million has already been used to support your constitutional rights. Imagine what we can do with you on our side when you switch to Patriot Mobile. Join me to stop the left and switch to Patriot Mobile today. We need you now more than ever. Visit patriotmobile.com/Hugh. That's patriotmobile.com/Hugh.
Warning, listening to this program may expose you to toxic masculinity. The John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
By the way, you can check out our website now, the John Steigerwald Show website. It's, believe it or not, johnsteigerwaldshow.com. We came up with that name. She worked on that for several hours to come up with a name for the website. And so check it out, johnsteigerwaldshow.com. Speaking of shows, I wrote a column, a little sports here for you. I got a couple minutes. I wrote a column over the weekend about Josh Bell, and he's tearing up the major leagues, and he's one of the big stories in baseball right now. He's having a Willie Stargell type year, and it's a great story. And so, but I wrote a column suggesting that people should enjoy Josh Bell before he goes, because guys who hit the way Josh Bell's been hitting don't stay in Pittsburgh. They leave. They leave and sign with somebody as a free agent, or the Pirates have to get rid of them before they become free agents because they know they can't sign them. So and this is what Colin Dunlap, who's one of the co-hosts of the morning show on the sports station, I think it's called the Mediocre Morning Show, but he wrote, this might end up being true, but this is the most miserable person on earth. He linked this with my column. God forbid write anything positive about Bell, as he's one of the best stories in MLB. The Pirates control Bell through 2022. Imagine waking up and being this mad at the world each day. Just imagine. So and so my response was, first of all, you think it might be true? It's going to happen. The other thing is, if you're looking for somebody miserable, talk to a Pirate fan who's put up with 40 years of almost nothing but losing for the last at least 27 years, and more like 40. And so, rather than making it personal, just consider the fact that what I said is true, and it's going to happen. And the host of the Mediocre Morning Show is that his job requires him to not make the observation that the Pirates and that Major League Baseball has done to the Pirates a disservice and made them everything that isn't about Major League Baseball and turned them into a Major League team in name only. But the host, he doesn't want to say that. I do, because it's true. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
The John Steigerwald Show is a production of AM 1250 The Answer and Salem Media Group.
Do you or your business have financial problems? Are you overwhelmed with debt? Then call me, Attorney Dennis Spire, at 412-471-7675. My legal practice concentrates on bankruptcy law, debtor rights, and tax matters. I have over 30 years' experience as a former United States